Hi folks, my name is Sean Patoxel. I'm a swimming pool contractor based out of Sarasota, Florida. This is a swimming pool construction presentation for Woodland Lakes in Sullivan, Missouri. I was recently in Sullivan just visiting friends, and I happened across Woodland Lakes looking at some property to purchase when I came across your pool issues and the project that you were reviewing to do. I spoke with Frank and Craig up there, and I told them that we could take care of the issues for them and build them the best pool they're going to get. So we've issued you a summary proposal that's come in by fax roughly a week ago. I believe today is November 2nd, and this is a follow-up to it so we can provide you further information on what we can provide to you. I do have a copy of your summary proposal with me, so I'll be referencing this a little bit. This is completely unscripted. I'm just going to go down the line of what's there and explain to you what we're offering you. A quick background on myself. I have multi-generations in the swimming pool industry. We've built from start to finish for decades. The pool behind me is an example of the type pool that we typically would put in Florida and some of the southern states. It has gutter drains and some other features. It doesn't necessarily apply to you up in Missouri. Some of the important aspects that I'm going to cover is what our codes are versus the codes you may have or the lack thereof in Missouri. So I'm going to get into that a little bit. I'm also going to talk to you about the specific items that we're offering you and how well they may work for you and why they may be a little different from what you're accustomed to or even the pool companies are that are up in the Midwest may offer you. Specific to my background, me personally, I want you to know that I'm the last generation that built pools from start to finish. From the design aspect all the way to the thank you ma'am or sir, your project is complete. Everything that we'll utilize and do with your pool, I am considered a professional at. I can do the design, I can do the electrical code, I can do the 3D automation, I can do all the concrete work, the deck work, the plumbing, the filtration, everything there is to do. I am a pro, I'll do it with my own two hands. Okay, I try not to do that any longer. Start to finish, I have a vast team that assists me in all the construction, renovation, repairs, and so forth. But what we want to do is bring a lot of our knowledge and a lot of the principles we design by based on federal code and Florida code in specific to you in Missouri so you can have a better product. It's not to say that you don't have some great pool contractors up there or anywhere in the nation. My company, we just do it a little different. You have the local codes, county codes, especially in Missouri. You have a little bit of state code, you have a little bit of federal code. Okay, and then California, Arizona, Texas, and Florida have the premium codes that everybody go by, with Florida being the most strict of all of them. That's what I base my principles on. However, I don't even build to Florida code. I will not build to Florida code. Reason being is I don't think it's an appropriate, and I think it's a disservice to the consumer. It's a recipe for failure or disaster. A pool that you build to Florida code is going to have significant issues, generally in short order, and always within 2 to 3 years there's going to be some problems. So we build beyond the code, and that's very important to me. Roughly 40 to 50% beyond the code to be exact, sometimes much further depending on the situation we're building on. What I'm going to do now is go over your proposal with you, explain what we're offering to you, and then we're going to walk down by the pool, and I'm going to point out some different issues that you may have faced or that you potentially could face, and explain a little bit about the code that we're going to go by for your project. If you look at your proposal, you will see that we say that we will price match apples to apples comparison. We put that in every proposal that we do. Not once in the last several years has anybody actually asked us to do it, because what we offer is generally so far beyond what most people are offering. And we do that because we want you to have the best product. We're in this to make money, and you want to try to save as much money as possible. And a lot of times we can save you money by being proactive and giving you a better product. The reason it pays off for me is I want you to say wonderful things about my company and all my staff. Those guys at API, they're great. You know, they came in and they did this and this, and they didn't charge us this, or they didn't charge us that, and they didn't nickel and dime us. And that's the way we truly do operate. Once we give you a product and a price, that's it. We don't go from there. There can be some hidden issues that we'll find underground, and there's appropriate verbiage in the paperwork that states, hey, if we find this, it could be this or it could be that. We can look into the future. We can use ground sensing radar, but we generally don't do it because it comes at too high a price for you as a consumer. So to start out, we're proposing to build you a 44 by 80 foot pool. Your current pool is 40 foot by 80 foot. I've been asked to expand it 2 foot out on either side just to give you a little bit more volume or room for bather capacity. Now the reality of it is in Missouri that we found thus far, we don't really have bathing capacity laws or guidelines, but we do have some significant numbers that we can run by you that says, hey, this is what's safe. We're proposing to give you a 3 to 6 foot finish. That was the request of Frank that heads up the community, I'm told. He wants that to be the finish step. So when you're standing in the water depth will be 3 foot in the shallow end, and the deep end it will be 6 foot, and that's in the main pool. Roughly that will be 120,000 gallons of water. So with that 120,000 gallons of water, we have to treat it appropriately. Your current pool has a concrete floor and a fiberglass and aluminum substrate wall. That's flexing, bending, creating different issues, working with the deck. It's not holding things up, and that's not a good thing. In Missouri, I found out by dealing with a Tim, I'll just use the first name, a gentleman named Tim. He's big into the fiberglass walls. He thinks it's very good, and that's fine. For us, we build only concrete pools. In specific, we use what they call shotcrete. A couple pieces of terminology that might be thrown around to you is shotcrete or gunite. The difference between the two is very simple. Gunite is sand and cement mixed together, blown in under pressure through a pump, and a lot of people like that. You can make a very pretty finish with the concrete, with the gunite. However, it really has no bearing on the finish of the pool because we're going to cover it over with a pool waterproofing agent generically referred to as marshite, and that can be Crystalcrete, Diamond Bright, white marshite, marble dust, and white cement, or our proprietary glass finish, API liquid crystal. So when we refer to marshite, we're referring to a pool finish. So with regards to your concrete work, we use shotcrete. Shotcrete is a mixture of sand, cement, and stone or pebble or rock, and there's different grades. We'll be utilizing pump mix because we pump it through a high pressure pump to build up the floor and the walls. Our code in Florida states that we need to have 6 inches of concrete in the swimming pool, and we need to use steel rebar, number 3 bar, 3/8 inch, 12 inch on center. We actually pump it in at 8 inches, and we use number 3 bar, but we do it 10 inches on center. That adds a stronger level of rigidity to it, much like building a bridge, and sometimes we'll even double mat it for an area that's real marshy. And then we're going to do some specialty work on the top of those walls, which is the beam. That's going to involve some welding as well as bar ties with that rebar, and that makes for a stronger structure. In Florida and many of the states we operate in, we see a lot of cracking in the tile, things of that nature, so we take steps to make sure that that doesn't occur for you. The next thing is the skimmer system. On the pool, you'll see down one bank of a wall, you'll have multiple skimmers. That's where the water goes in. It filters the debris off the top of the water. We're going to utilize skimmer systems up there for you again at this point because that's all that's required up there. And there's not much that's required. However, we're not just going to put them down one wall and say that's going to work. We're going to spread them out throughout the pool so you get equal skimming on the surface, but we also have proper hydraulics, which is the flow of the water going through the plumbing. Pool lights you'll see. We have spec'd 4 pool lights in your pool. Something that is somewhat unique to Florida, but it varies throughout the country, is we're going to put in a low voltage system. It's also referred to as safety volt, and it's referred to safety volt as a reason. We don't believe in putting high voltage electricity in close proximity to water. Okay, even in Florida, half the state requires safety volt, half the state does not. But for our purposes, we will only put in safety volt. Can be an arguable point, but one little O-ring standing behind between high voltage electricity and the water and a bunch of kids in the pool, it doesn't fly for me. So that's what we're going to put in. At this point, we have you spec'd in 4 lights. Something that we would like to do for you, if you'd like it, is to put in LED technology. A couple benefits to it. One is that you don't have incandescent light bulbs that burn out fairly regularly with regards to a swimming pool that have to be changed and cost you a significant amount of money to do. But also you have the ability to have them change colors. So whether you're entertaining out by the pool, having a party, or people are just out there having fun, you can make the lights different colors, you can make them dance like disco lights, and it's just a lot of fun for a lot of people. Something that was discussed with Frank, and I was told that you guys didn't have the money to do it, which I can understand that from one standpoint, that I offered up, and if we build the pool that we're going to offer to you, you don't have to take it, but I'd recommend it, is putting in some benches along the walls of the pool. The pool that you're looking at having is 44 foot wide. That's, if you're in the center, that's 22 foot from the edge potentially, and that edge being a safety zone or the steps. things of that nature. So I'd asked Frank about putting benches in, and he said that you folks really couldn't afford to do it. Well, from this point on, consider what I'm saying in this manner, if you would. I want to do what's right with regards to the pool. It needs to be structurally correct, and it needs to be safe. And that's the number one thing, is safety. So those benches, for the elderly, for kids, that someone that cramps, something unexpected happens, those benches can be the difference between life and death. They may not be able to get out of the pool, but hopefully they can get to a bench and sit on it or grab hold of it, keep themselves above water. So what we're proposing to do is put a 12-foot bench on either side of the pool in the shallow end as a safety mechanism, and people can enjoy it just by sitting in the pool and having a conversation, what have you, having fun. You can see by these steps, we have specific codes that says how wide they can be and how tall they can be. Those are safety factors. Also, if you look at the black tile down here or the blue tile, the most up-to-date code says that we have to use non-skid tile on the edge. So we'll be doing that as well for you. So there'll be 2x6 tile, non-skid in it. It means it's rough. They call it shark skin, and that's a safety item. Also going to be providing handrails. There's specific codes to handrails and height and how sturdy they have to be, so we'll take care of that. We'll have some options between stainless or powder coated. We can use whichever you'd like with regards to that based on the type of steps or ramps that we utilize. Next item that we'd address is the ladders in the deep end. We're going to send you a picture, and maybe there'll be some video included. But ladders have specific codes as well in the deep end these days. The typical rail that just goes over the edge is no longer allowed. The reason that is for a safety reason. Those ladders can get compressed against the wall and people can get trapped in them, or they can pull on them and they can come loose. So we're going to provide the necessary ladders in there that work appropriately and follow the same safety codes as well. Also, we have depth markers that you'll see in the deck and in the tile. We're going to provide all that. That's going to be to the national code as well. It's non-skid, international no diving sign, so if somebody comes in there, they'll be able to tell just by looking at it that you're not supposed to dive there because the depth is too shallow, it's unsafe. You also have a children's pool, a kiddie pool if you will, that we're going to be installing for you. That's going to go from 1 foot to 2 foot in depth, and it's going to be roughly 18 foot by 16 foot. We're going to apply the same construction principles from the main pool to the kiddie pool. Even though it's a smaller structure, there won't be as much stress there. We're going to apply all that as well, including the low voltage lighting. With regards to your pool, you're roughly looking at 120,000 gallons of water, and it's a very large pool. There's a lot of surface area. That can create some problems with regards to filtration, water chemistry, so on and so forth, which can lead to staining issues, bacterial issues, things of that nature. We have specific guidelines and calculations we utilize to figure out what we need for filtration in that pool. On your pool, by our Florida standard, we need about 333 gallons per minute of water flowing through the filtration system with an 6 to 8 hour turnover rate and 160 square foot of filtration. What we propose to do is put in a little extra filtration. We're going to take you from 160 square foot to 288 square foot of filtration, and you're currently utilizing sand filters. Sand filters are okay. It's old school technology. They do the job at the bare minimum, but what they don't do is protect your investment. The reason they don't do that is because they filter anywhere from 35 to 40 microns. Now we can't see a micron, but let's just say that there's a lot of organic material left in the pool when you're using a sand filter that can cause staining in the long run. The next step beyond that would be a paper cartridge filter, and they have inherent issues, and I'm just going to bypass that. They do filter at 15 to 20 microns on average. What we're going to utilize with your pool is called a DE filter, diatomaceous earth. It's a powder substrate that goes over a nylon base, and it filters at 2 to 5 microns. When it's perfectly clean, it's filtering on average at 5 microns for a Hayward filter, a Hayward DE7220 to be specific. And when they get a little dirtier, which is a good thing, they're filtering in the 2 to 3 micron range. What that does for you as the consumer, it filters out finer particulate, which makes your water cleaner, which makes it more healthier, which makes it better for the bather as well as for the pool. And we're looking at putting in 4 of those. We only technically need 3, but that's that margin of error that I like to speak of, is we're going to give you that extra filtration, which gives you more time to deal with it should something come up, and it also gives you more filter area, which means the water's flowing slower through the filter, which means it's filtering better.
You have a couple options with regards to pumps to move the kind of water you need to move. One is to use a large 5 horsepower pump with a 4-inch line, or to use a couple variable speed pumps, which is green technology, with 4-inch lines. There's pros and cons to all of them. The pro of using the one pump is it's just one pump. Should it go bad, you can replace it relatively easily and inexpensively. However, it costs more money to run on a day-to-day basis. The green technology pumps are variable speed. They're controlled by computers. They run anywhere from a 1/2 horsepower to 7 horsepower individually and every point in between, and they last a very long time, yet they're more money. Our core proposal to you allows you to use either one of them. There's different variables involved from the installation. It costs me a little bit of money one way or the other, but the biggest thing is I want to give you what's appropriate for you. I believe the variable speed pumps is probably the best way to go. However, do keep in mind is when something does go wrong with them, they are going to be more money to replace. We're also looking at installing a Hayward Orp chemical feed system. That's a pool comm system. That's an automated controller. It's about to be mandated as federal law. It doesn't apply to you right now that you have to have it. We're going ahead and putting that in for you. Reason being, it's going to make the pool much easier for your personnel to take care of. And if you want us to do it, it'll allow us to be able to log into a computer system and see exactly what's going on with regards to the swimming pool from a water chemistry standpoint. It also offers you a level of safety from a liability standpoint. Should somebody become ill, they're in the pool, they say that it was caused by the pool, we can go back and look at a whole history of what the water chemistry is, and it'll allow us to see on any given day what that water chemistry was with regards to sanitizers, pH, things of that nature. It also gives the system the ability to notify you or notify us that there's a problem with the pool with regards to flow in the system or to chemical levels, and that way somebody can respond to it without actually being there. So it's going to regulate your water chemistry automatically, which certainly makes it easier on you and your staff. The other thing that we spoke of with Frank was the sanitizer. That's what fights bacteria. We also have you set up to utilize an ozone system. To keep it real simple, ozone is the best sanitizer known to man to kill bacteria. We have a specific systems made by Superior Aqua, based out of Sarasota, Florida, that we can put in there. It's going to work along with the other sanitizers and cut down on the chlorine use by about 90 to 95%, and it's going to make the water much safer to be in, and it's going to cut down on any bacterial issues that you may have. Also with that system, there's two different size systems. You have 120,000 gallons. The one system that we could utilize is set up for 125,000 gallons. We're looking at putting a system set up there for 250,000 gallons for you. Once again, we have that margin of error. Should you get severe storms, should you get severe rain, should you get an introduction of heavy bacteria in the pool for some reason, we'll be able to crank that system up and actually fight that bacteria much better having the larger system in there. So once again, it goes back to the quality issue. We want to make sure everything's going to work appropriately for you, and we have some extra margin of error built in. Okay folks, what you're looking at now, I'm out of the picture so we can direct your attention to the bottom of the pool. This particular pool has a floor return system, and this is the best way that we feel to get water dispersed throughout a pool evenly. That's important so that we're treating all the water body at one time as the water's flowing through the system. You're looking at a small snapshot of a very big pool. These floor returns are spread throughout the pool, generally evenly speaking, so that we get water evenly distributed throughout the pool. So we're going to recommend something a little unique to what this is. We have a low column of water and a high column of water. Now coming from the floor, it does get to the high column of water because we're pulling water from the surface with the skimming system, but we're going to recommend using some returns in the floor, some in the wall. That way we have circulation in the upper column to work with your skimmer system within the pool. And that will evenly distribute water high and low from a water chemistry standpoint, and then if for some reason you choose you want to heat the pool, there's added benefits to that as well. What you're looking at now, you see the two main drains in this pool. Those are VGB compliant, Virginia Graham-Baker compliant. That's something else that we're going to do with your pool. Now, there's only two main drains in this pool, which is okay, but you have all that body of water in the rest of the pool that is only getting a certain amount of water from the surface going back to the filtration system, and just this small little pocket getting it from the main drain system. What we're going to do is set up the hydraulics so that you're getting more thorough circulation coming from the drainage system on your pool as we build it, and that just has to do with the hydraulics and plumbing, which is very important. Hi folks, what I'm standing next to is a handicap list essentially. This is something that's coming under federal requirements for all public swimming pools. With regard to your pool at this point in time, it's not a requirement, nor do I believe it's going to become a requirement based on what I know with Missouri code and what we're reading and talking to the local officials about. However, it is something to consider. Come January 1st, it may hit us out of the blue that they're going to require you to have this. So I wanted to explain it to you. Now some of the pitfalls of these, and we get often asked, what's the most inexpensive way we can do it? Well, there's several manufacturers just like anything else. Okay, this particular lift is water activated. Water pressure lifts the chair, the person can swing over into the pool, you hit the lever, it lowers them back down. However, there's an inherent problem. It's called liability. What happens is when things aren't installed properly, when things aren't properly connected, when I throw this lever, that water can fill up the tube, lift this up. The tube that actually carries the water into the mechanism has popped out. And you can only imagine if somebody's sitting up this high and all of a sudden that pops out and you lose all water pressure, boom, they're coming back down hard. And we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm sure it wouldn't be good, so it creates some liability issues. So once again, should we have to discuss this with regards to code on site for your pool, we need to make sure that we're using the proper equipment, it's good equipment, and we have the proper connections. We have to consider price, but safety and liability needs to be put at the forefront. Okay folks, we're down to the concrete deck portion. We're looking at installing a 70-foot by 110-foot deck around the pool. That's minus the pool area itself on the surface. This is another critical component of the swimming pool area. There's cosmetics, and there's safety issues, and there's structural issues involved. We do something that's completely unique to the swimming pool industry, and we put a lot of our focus in the pool decks. What we find in Florida, because we're a big floating peninsula, is we get a lot of movement, therefore we get a lot of cracking in the deck. It's considered acceptable, not only in Florida but nationwide. From my standpoint, when you're spending $30,000, $50,000, $200,000, $500,000, that's not acceptable. So I've designed decks in a manner to stop them from cracking for the most part. Not to say we will not get an occasional hairline crack, but we're not going to get the big sweeping cracks that people can trip on, that look very unsightly, that they can cut their foot on, stub their toe on. The way that we do that is we use a higher tensile strength concrete. Most pool decks are poured with 2,500 or 3,000 PSI concrete, which I guess is fine by the code, fine by most people's standards. I utilize the same concrete in the pool deck as I use in the pool, 5,000 PSI concrete. We also utilize rebar 10-inch on center throughout the deck, which is very important to me. We want to make sure that when we put that pool deck down, it remains solid, it remains nice, and we don't have any problems. Now your current pool deck is raw concrete, which is fine, and we can still do that. We're also offering you the opportunity, which we have figured into our pricing, to put an acrylic topping on the deck. That makes the deck look much nicer, and it makes it significantly more easy to take care of. A little soap and water, a water hose, a soft brush periodically, and it remains nice. You have your choice of 855 different colors you can color that with to give it whatever appearance you'd like to have. With regards to the structure, we'll put in what the footer is required by code and probably then some. In most pool footers, we have a bundle of steel, either 2 or 3 pieces of rebar in a bundle just tied together with a bar tie. That's what's considered acceptable. We do something a little different. It's called the API box beam. Now, without getting into specifics, it's 5 pieces of rebar spread 4 inches apart with one going through the center, and it essentially makes a footer that's indestructible. It's not going to ship, it's not going to crack, and we hopefully would never have to go through it, because once we put them down, they are a nightmare to go through. It makes your pool deck 10 times more structurally sound than just a thin piece of rebar going through the middle of a 14 by 14 foot footer. So that's something we're going to do as well for you. The pool deck right now you have what they call a Hollywood style edge deck, where it comes up to the edge and then drops right down to the pool tile. That's fine, it's very common. What we're going to do is put in a cantilevered edge deck, meaning it goes out a few inches, and it gives you two things. One, it gives you a splash guard, so when they're splashing in the pool and the water's moving, it bumps up against it, keeps the water in the pool, but more importantly, it gives you a grip edge. It's a safety feature. So should something happen, especially in the deeper end, somebody, even a child, can go up and grab hold of the edge of the deck and hold on and keep themselves above water. It gives them something to grab onto. So that's the type of deck edge that we're going to recommend and that we plan on putting in for you. When we do the concrete, what's common in the industry is people come in, they do the form work, they pour the concrete, and the next day or the day after, they're back on it, they're putting the deck topping on it, they're doing different work. We do it a little differently. We put the concrete down, we stretch Visqueen over it, and we let it slow cure for a couple of weeks. In Florida, we put misters underneath there. It may not be necessary in Missouri, depending on what the temperatures are like, but we want that concrete to slow cure. That cuts down on a lot of the cracking, a lot of the brittleness in the concrete. We all use cliches, for all of us that have been around for a while, that they don't make them like they used to. They don't build it like they used to. The same applies to swimming pools, to buildings, to bridges. We've all been out there. We've seen it. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? The reason is we've become too rushed. We try to push things out very fast, get the most return on investment, and what happens is the consumer, you and me, we end up with a subpar product that we're typically not happy with. You're looking at spending a couple $100,000 plus. It's worth it to do it right. It's worth it to take a little extra time and make sure that everything's done right. And it's worth a little bit of extra money, in a sense, in my opinion, to make sure that your hydraulics, your concrete, your finished product, your marshite, it's all done right. We don't have safety issues. We don't have liability issues. The liability issues are what can kill you. So that's what we want to protect you from. The acrylic deck topping is very simple. We've seen textured walls. I'm sure you have. You may have seen textured concrete decks. That's what we typically use. We'd recommend using that on your deck. That's something that's included in the price already. We use a very strong product. They use it in Disney World, SeaWorld. It's made by Color Wheel Products. It's industrial. We use it because it's last. Once again, doing it the way that we do it at API. We're not going to put anything out there that's only going to last for a couple of years and hope that you call us back and say, hey, come back and fix it. We're getting paid appropriately up front to give you a product that's going to last. So we're going to utilize that. And all the products I'm talking about, there are cut sheets that will be involved in the folder that we're sending you that you'll be able to see, as well as if you have internet access and you want to go online, you can see more products with regards to it that way. Finally, we have to talk about the interior finish in the pool. When I was there looking at your pool, you have a concrete floor, there's some paint on it, fiberglass walls, something that's resembling tile, not even sure exactly. It was asked to me, at what point do we paint the pool, and when we do paint it, what kind of products that we use to paint it? I kind of chuckled at that. We don't paint pools, ever, okay, within API. We put in the proper finish, and we educate our clients to maintain them properly. And when you do that, it should last 10 to 20 years, ideally 20 years. But in a commercial environment, unfortunately, people don't take care of the pools exactly the way we'd like them to. So 10, 12, 15 years is probably the norm. We're going to give you some options of the product to use. National brands that you may or may not have heard of, Crystal Crete and Diamond Bright. Another brand that we utilize here, Florida Gym. The core product on the pool finish is marble dust and white cement. It doesn't matter where you go, what the manufacturer is, who's installing it. The only exception to that rule is fiberglass. We don't utilize fiberglass. We don't recommend it because it will not hold up to water chemistry. The water chemistry in the pool changes every day. Okay, so they can't keep up with it. There's too many variables, therefore it breaks down. It can create many issues. One, for the bather, it's very uncomfortable because you can get fiberglass in the pool. It makes it very itchy, things of that nature. For the pool itself, the pool can get cloudy. It affects the filtration system. It doesn't work properly. Creates big issues there, especially for the poor soul that's having to take care of it. So we use an interior finish, core product, marble dust and white cement. And then we go from there. We could add blue crystal, brown crystal, black crystal. We can dye it, although we do not recommend dyed finishes. What gives you the most crystalline Caribbean blue water is a pure white finish, so you get the reflectivity of the sun, the prism effect going through the water, refracting off the finish, and that's what most people tend to like that we find.
We're here by a backpack system. This is called a vacuum DE system. It's kind of the gold standard with regards to swimming pools. However, it's not the only standard that you can utilize. You have a pressure sand filter. We're looking at doing a pressure DE system up there with you. We just wanted to show you this so you can see the different types of pumps, plumbing, and valves that we utilize. And if you look down in this pit, you can see the actual DE elements. Those are nylon plates or plastic plates covered by nylon with the DE powder, which if you look over this way for just a moment, this is the DE powder that we put over that. That is your filter media. You can see how fine it is. That's why it does such a good job. Okay. Also, Mike, if you just show them the different valves and pumps that are in here, all these types of items will be utilized with regards to your swimming pool system. The only difference is this system is catching all the dirt and debris prior to getting to the pump, whereas your system, your strainer pot baskets within the pump will catch the big debris, and then your filter will filter out the finer debris. Hi folks, once again, the backpack system. Just a quick explanation of what these three tanks are. At first glance they look like pool filters, but they're actually not. They're called separation tanks. And what they do is very simple. When we backwash a DE system, the water with the old DE flows through these systems. They have special bags in them. It catches the DE so it doesn't get flushed into the septic system, out onto grass, into a pond, onto a lake, wherever you may be putting it. And it is required by law to have them on the commercial pools in Florida. Laws do vary throughout the country. We recommend that you utilize them regardless of whether the law says you have to or not. If you're spending $100,000 or $1 million on a pool, your pool contractor quite simply should be able to stuff in a couple $1,000s worth of products in there and make sure that you have the best product on the ground for yourself. So that's what these are, separation tanks. This unit down here, if you take a look at it, this is your ORP system. This is your automatic chemical control. And this is something that is becoming federal law, federal standard for public pools. However, your pool doesn't fall within the guidelines at the moment, but that can change. So what it is, real simply, it's a little control module. It's hooked into some little pumps, and we set the system to monitor the chemicals through this unit right here. It takes an electronic reading, says there's the proper reading on water chemistry, and when there's not, it pumps chemicals into the system automatically through some submerged holding tanks. So that's what this system is. We have you set up with the pool comm system. It's more advanced. You can control it on site from right here if that's all you want to do. We can put the basic system in. We'd like to see you put in the more advanced system where we can control it from the computer desktop anywhere we are. So the nice thing about that is it runs off satellites. It will cost you $27 a month to have that, but it's a small price to pay to be able to call up API and have one of our super techs log onto the system, say this is exactly what we're seeing, this is exactly what you need to do, and if you do this, it's going to rectify the problem. Along with that, it will also send out dispatches to your on-site personnel and to us if you'd like, whether it's through a text message, an email, the like, to a smartphone, our tablet PCs, our desktops, or our in-truck computers, and any one of my super techs, any one of my senior office staff, or myself will be able to log into your system and see exactly what's going on with your water chemistry within your pool, and a huge history of it as well. This is a flow meter. It measures gallons per minute flowing through the plumbing. We're going to have a couple of these within your system. It's a level of redundancy we want to set up. That's how we know whether things are working right, whether filters are dirty, what's going on. And we'll actually have one set up for each filter. That way, if we see a severe restriction in flow at one filter, we know something's going on with that specific filter. The poor guy taking care of the pool doesn't have to sit there and wonder what's going on. Is it the pump? Is it that filter? So we'll be able to see within the system what's going on just at a glance, and that way it'll make it much easier for whoever's dealing with the system to take necessary actions to rectify it. There's quite a bit more that goes into the hydraulics, which we can discuss, but the bottom line is, I need to emphasize, and I can't emphasize enough, I'm there to be your professional knowledge base. I need to look into the future. I need to put a pool in the ground that's going to last structurally, that's going to be healthy both for itself and for the bathers, and I need to set up a hydraulic system that's going to do the best job for you to maintain the water in a safe manner and beyond a safe manner, and make it easy enough that it's going to be easy to take care of and last a very, very long time.
all these components that are involved in this swimming pool, from the concrete to the tile to the finish to the filtration, they all cost a lot of money. And when it goes down, when it breaks and something goes wrong, it costs that much more money to rectify it. So I want to set it up in such a manner for you that once we put it in there, it's not that it's never going to break and that there's not going to be issues, but that when it does, you have a level of redundancy, a backup system, if you will, and it gives you time to act so that your whole pool just doesn't go down and it's a nightmare for all parties involved. I'd like to thank you on behalf of API and Team API for viewing the video. I know it's taken some time. I know we jumped around a lot. I'm trying to fit a whole lot of knowledge, 30 years plus, in a little short video to explain to you what we feel we can offer you, and it could be very different from what the rest of the companies may offer you, to make sure that you have the most enjoyable swimming environment and most of all get the most bang for your buck. You want to have value, and that's what we bring you, is value. Value in our knowledge, value in our products, and value in our customer service. We're going to give you the best customer service, bar none, from any pool company in the world. That's the one absolute guarantee I can give you. Thank you.